Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Are you ready? Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Everybody's doing okay out there today. Nice day in Maine for the most part. It was partly cloudy, but a nice temperature, and the sun poked out, sporadically, so it's really nice. On a more serious note, though, I want to offer my condolences to my friend Allison, whose father has just passed away here a day ago. 12 or 13 days ago, he had fallen and broke his back, I guess, and he was in hospice care for 12 days, I guess, and he just he couldn't survive it, I guess. He passed away, and he was a Korean War veteran. He was looking forward to voting for Kamala Harris, but it's just life does things that gets in the way of stuff like that. But I wish Allison as much strength through this as possible, and I'm here if you want to talk at any time, or something. Just text me or call me or whatever. I know what it's like to lose parents, and so it's I just wanted to make a shout out here to my listeners and stuff, and to offer my condolences to her loss. Okay, I have a couple of videos, and the first one is about what's been going on in Florida. As FEMA's been down there trying to do their job. And apparently members of MAGA have been down there threatening the people at FEMA, telling them to get lost, leave and all this. And it's very troubling because the person that started this anti-FEMA crap was, of course, Donald Trump, who, had said, I guess maybe last week, I guess it was, had said that FEMA wasn't helping, that Joe Biden was withholding FEMA money to help them, right? And so then he was saying that FEMA wasn't doing enough or something like that, enough to get people pissed off, especially down in Florida where it's a red area, right, red state. So a lot of people down there are really pissed off at FEMA because they're listening to Donald Trump's lies, okay? And Biden had to come out at least 2 times already since the hurricanes hit to correct what Trump was saying, to let people know that yes, FEMA is there. We are on the ground. Biden himself was down there. Kamala too, okay? They've all been down there. They're organizing efforts to try to help the displaced people from after losing their homes. They're trying to help out as best they can. I mean, there's only so much the government can do. I mean, they can't snap a finger and bring everything back to normal. No, I mean, the damage is done. The homes are lost. What we got to do is save the people, get them back on their feet somehow, and do that. But you have people on the other side who are out there disparaging FEMA and talking crap about FEMA because Donald Trump has been talking crap about FEMA and disparaging the government. Okay, he doesn't like the idea that Biden's got things going on down in Florida to help people. He would rather that people assume that Biden is failing in that. Okay, and really the only people that are believing this horse shit is MAGA. Okay, anybody that's for Trump, they're the only ones that are down there bitching about this. Okay, while help is being done, okay, in the background behind them, they're in there sitting there, oh, we're not getting help from anybody, right? Okay, so it's amazing that people can be that stupid, but I'm not so sure that intelligence really has any weight at all in a cult mentality. What would be lacking to create that? Because some of these people that are members of MAGA are not stupid, okay? But they believe the lies. They believe what Trump says. And so a lot of things that he says is stupid, and they still believe it, okay? But, we have to keep in mind that a cult mentality will not change. If they are standing behind Trump, they're going to stand behind him right to the bitter end, okay? You know what I'm saying? They'll go down fighting. Those people are really the only people who will probably vote for Trump this November, because everybody else, I think, has pretty well decided that Trump is just too much of a fucking risk. I mean, the things that he's saying now when he's not even hiding it, all right, is really enough of a red flag to scare most voters away from ever, looking in his direction, let alone casting a vote next to his name. All right, so let's go to that video here, and I'll catch you on the other side.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. So we are starting to see the effects of MAGA's lies about the hurricane and their lies about the Federal Emergency Management Agency. So for anybody who doesn't know, I don't know how you wouldn't know, but Donald Trump and his minions and his MAGA men and women have been out there spreading horrible lies about FEMA, about the federal government's response to all of the hurricanes, all of the horrific tragedies going on in the Southeast and the East regions of the country, when people are really desperate right now. I mean, people are dying. People have, lost everything. Their homes are destroyed. So you would think a true leader would step up and want to do something to help people. Donald Trump, the billionaire, started a GoFundMe, essentially, to raise money for these people. Didn't put in a dime of his own money. And then on top of that, like I said, he's been lying relentlessly about how things are being handled. So last week, a man told news outlets his father-in-law, who lives in North Carolina, and, was very hard hit by all of the flooding and these hurricanes. His father-in-law is refusing to reach out to FEMA for help, even though he desperately needs it, because he believes the lie that if he takes aid from the government, they're going to take his house. That's one of the lies that's being spread. And then today, it was reported that federal aid workers had to be evacuated and they had to be moved to another location in North Carolina because of threats of armed militia members. So this apparently went down on Saturday. The U.S. Forest Service sent an urgent message saying, quote, FEMA has advised all federal responders, Rutherford County, North Carolina, to stand down and evacuate the county immediately. The message stated that National Guard troops had come across ×2 trucks of armed militia saying they were out hunting FEMA. This is in America. This is in the United States of America. Are you freaking kidding me? This is what people are signing up for. This is what people want to do again. With a second Trump presidency, I unbelievably flabbergasted by it's just, it is beyond me. It is insanity that people would consider this man at all, that there are millions of people willing to vote for this sociopath. And as a result of these psycho MAGA threats, a Forest Service official said that emergency personnel was moved to a quote unquote safe area and they had to pause their work. So these are people who were clearing the roads so that search and rescue crews could get to potential victims. Like people who have no way out, who are trapped. They were also trying to get supplies to people who are in need, maybe people who need food, who need water, who, maybe need medical attention. And this is what's happening. It's shut down because of this psycho. And the Washington Post was told, quote, "For the safety of our dedicated staff and the disaster survivors we are helping, FEMA has made some operational adjustments." So apparently, instead of going door to door like they normally would, FEMA workers are working from fixed locations, which means victims have to come to them. Absolutely absurd, right? How many people are going to die because of Donald Trump's lies? Obviously, there are going to be people who don't receive assistance, don't receive medical attention because of the way FEMA is being forced to operate right now, because of these lies. And again, that is 100% the fault of Trump, J.D. Vance, all of the MAGA sheep who are just blindly reposting conspiracy theories online. So the next time someone says, oh, this isn't a big deal, they try to minimize the impact and the importance of Donald Trump's lies and his MAGA minions, tell them this story. Share this with them because they're literally putting people's lives at risk. And on top of the militia threats, it gets even worse. The Rutherford County Sheriff's Office confirmed that they arrested a North Carolina man who threatened FEMA workers. So this man is 44-year-old Jacob Parsons. He was arrested on Saturday. He told a gas station attendant or worker that he was going to harm FEMA in some way. And then this worker, luckily, informed the authorities that Parsons was armed with an assault rifle and threatened FEMA. And so the police also, when they arrested him, found he had a handgun with him as well. So he's got, an assault rifle and a handgun, and he's making threats against FEMA. People who are there trying to save lives. Also on Saturday, the police say a North Carolina resident showed up at a supply distribution center, and this person threatened FEMA personnel. So apparently they were on site, they had like their own area, and this person threatened them again also. And FEMA employees are saying they're being harassed. They're trying to assist residents. They're going out, showing up to homes, trying to deliver aid or help people with repairs. And they have people yelling at them saying, you need to leave. You need to get out of here. We don't want your help. We don't want the government's help. And on Sunday morning, the Ashe County Sheriff posted on Facebook, quote, "Recently in the mountain region, there have been threats made against them," meaning FEMA. "This has not happened in Ashe County or the surrounding counties. Out of an abundance of caution, they have paused their process as they are assessing the threats." So again, people are going to die and suffer because of Donald Trump, because of his lies. So yeah, there are real world consequences for all of these MAGA lies and these conspiracy theories. I mean, we've seen it over and over again, right? With the Q-loons that kill their children who, they're getting gunned down because they're pulling guns on people. I mean, the destruction and the mayhem, when we look back, when future generations look back at this time in history, their jaws are going to hit the floor. You're going to be like, what in the hell were millions of Americans thinking? Were they not paying attention? And I can answer that for you future Americans? No, they're not. They're not paying attention. The only thing they're paying attention to is Fear News Network. And that network, unfortunately, is propagating the same conspiracy theories and lies, which is why they were popped for almost $800 million in a settlement for defamation, for defaming Dominion voting systems. So that's what we're dealing with, future Americans. That's what we're living through right now. Anyway, as always, I will let you all know if I hear any more. Please like this video, even though I know the content is horrible, but it helps with the algorithms. Please share it. That's another way to get more eyeballs on this information so people understand how destructive Donald Trump and his ilk are. Please support the show if you can. Please become a subscriber if you have not. Truly appreciate all of you. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.
Okay, so she broke that down pretty good there. So let's go to a commercial break, and there'll be another video I wanted to play for you on after that's over. So let's go. I'll catch you on the other side of that.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me!
This is me.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Ruth McLaughlin, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
America's presidents have always brought something unique to the White House. From revolutionaries to businessmen to statesmen, their common thread has been clear: a commitment to the founding principles that make America great. Until recently, there was something else every president since World War II had in common. They all saw Adolf Hitler for the genocidal monster he was. All of them except one, Donald Trump. After 80 years of presidents who despised Nazism, Donald Trump became the first one to praise it.
They're poisoning the blood of our country.
It's sick. It's wrong. And the Republican Party is defending it. And if you're a Republican voter, it's time to ask yourself, is this who you are? Because if you're still defending Donald Trump, the answer is yes.
Attention, are you a Republican member of Congress? Have you suffered exhaustion or exasperation from defending Trump's indefensible comments and behavior? Have you found yourself wondering if cat cooking or weather-controlling lasers are out to get you? Then this message is for you. If you or a loved one are experiencing craziness fatigue, dropping polls, dry mouth, principles amnesia, lowered truth tolerance, diarrhea, rambling, unexplained hate gain, or an all-consuming guilt when making eye contact, you may be entitled to electoral annihilation. Call the Trumpism hotline today to receive our free information kit. Don't wait. You may be entitled to substantial losses in the House and Senate. And if you call now, you'll also receive a Harris presidency. Also, even if you don't call, your free information kit will be waiting for you in the parking lot after you drop off your office keys. Offer valid in all 50 states. No one should have to suffer from Trumpism. Make this important call today, you piece of shit.
trouble, Donald. In the courts, in the streets, in your own party. But there's one big problem you never saw coming. Turn around. He's right behind you. It's JD. His billionaire friends mock you. Why do you think they forced JD Vance on you? Age is getting to you, Donald, and you're just too slow to see the plan. If you win, JD will come for you. You won't see him until it's too late. He won't wait until you make a mistake. JD's plot to invoke the 25th Amendment is already underway. Your cabinet betrayed you before. Why would it be different now? And with Democrats in the majority, no one will stop him. Republicans want someone younger, smarter, someone stable. A leader who will execute Project 2025 without your problems. Rupert's Wall Street Journal said Vance's version of Trump is better than the real thing. JD switched from never Trump hater to your running mate in record time. You thought that was real? You think he won't stab you in the back to seize 10 years of power in the White House? So yes, Donald, they really are out to get you, and the one who'll betray your presidency is right by your side.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Okay, so this next video here is about rent prices and how they have been not steadily going up in the last 5 years, but going up considerably in big swaths over that time period. And there is a culprit behind it. It's an algorithm on a site called RealPage that landlords all, I don't know if all of them do it, but it seems like a lot of them do. They all go there to get their advice on what they should set prices at for their apartments. And since a lot of these landlords go there, people are saying, you know, that's sort of collusion because everybody's going to one source to decide what the rent should be. And this source is giving landlords the idea that the rents should be way higher than they are. But in this video, you're going to see or hear about how this is really not helping the landlords at all, because there's so many areas that have vacancies and nobody can afford the rents there, because this algorithm, this web page, RealPage, whatever they call it, is setting the bar too goddamn high. For most people, our incomes cannot compete with that. Okay, and so I guess a lot of landlords are just thinking that raising the rates higher can make up for the loss of tenants. I don't know. I really don't understand how that's helping them at all by using this algorithm. In my opinion, I think they should just stop using it and go back to the way they used to do things, where there was competition between the landlords, and gave consumers more options, and get more people into apartments, because we have a housing problem in this country where there's a lot of people, but nobody's living in a lot of places. Okay, and it's all because of increased pricing, which is in excess of what most people can earn a year. The rents are not cheap. I know right here in my own goddamn apartment, it's gone up a lot. Paying over $1,000 a month for here. When I first got here, it was $800, but it didn't go up for the first 2 years I was here, and then when COVID came and went, the rents rose considerably, much more, and I've noticed a lot of people leaving this, and I think there's me, the neighbor, the guy downstairs. There's only 4 people in this huge building that's got like 12 or 13 apartments in it. Okay, and there's only 4 or 5 units being used here. So that's half the building is empty because the rent's too damn high. And it isn't just here. A lot of the apartments in this area have gone up a lot too. So you're not going to find anything cheaper because they're all pretty much at the same level of prices. So I don't know if they're using this Real Page, but it kind of looks like they are on the surface. And I noticed that. I mean, you look in the, there's websites you can look up for rents and stuff. All the prices are pretty damn close together there, and they're not really that different, depending on how many bedrooms you got. Okay, that's the only way it's going to change. But if you're looking for a 2-bedroom apartment, in the basics, and no matter what town you're in, it's all going to be basically the same price. Okay, and that shouldn't be. That should not be. So anyway, let's go to that video here, and we'll learn a little bit about that. So let's take a look here at that.
It's late 2023, the Phoenix area. Investigators with the State Attorney General's office are looking at apartment rents. They're up 76% since 2016. Something is off. These 4 building rents are 12% higher than others, but they offer similar amenities. They have different landlords, so you'd think they should be competing with one another. But they weren't. The prices were allegedly being set by one entity, an algorithm owned by a company called RealPage. In fact, this was happening everywhere in the area.
That's old-fashioned price fixing using new technology.
We allege, in effect, a housing cartel.
Over 2,000 miles away, something similar is happening.
It's alleged that all of these different units, their prices were set by one single algorithm, which sounds bad.
And it could be happening in cities and states across the country. Renters have filed over 30 different lawsuits against RealPage.
We're going to talk about what all this means, how algorithms, these black boxes of data, are shaping our markets and giving an incredible amount of power to the few, and how the Department of Justice and some state attorney generals are fighting back. Because this is a story about how a few lines of code broke the American housing market.
What is RealPage?
So RealPage is a company that operates software that allows landlords to input their data into an algorithm, and then RealPage sets the prices for all of those landlords. This is actually against the law.
Attorney General Mays isn't the only one alleging this.
Our allegations are that RealPage, in combination with 14 of the largest landlords here in the District of Columbia, are effectively colluding with one another to set rents.
Across America, rent is up 20% since 2020. The Attorney Generals of Arizona and DC are suing RealPage and a host of big landlords, alleging that an algorithmic housing cartel is helping drive up prices.
In the pre-RealPage days, landlords would compete with one another.
They played a guessing game with rent prices. Push it too high and people move, leaving landlords hunting for new tenants. It was a delicate balance, a market. And I'm not sure if it was fair, but it wasn't rigged. An algorithm helped change all of that.
We're talking about an algorithm that aggregates otherwise confidential information that the landlords have, that ordinarily they would not share with their competitors.
Data like rent prices, lease expiry dates, any deals they offer to tenants.
That allows then the algorithm to spit out a pricing recommendation, all designed to keep the overall market at its highest peak.
They are not charging what the market can bear. They are controlling the market. It's leading to the exacerbation of our affordability crisis, our housing crisis here in Arizona.
If you could imagine a smoke-filled room where the landlords, the largest landlords in the District of Columbia, came together to decide what they were going to charge in rent, to share their confidential information, everybody would be able to see that that's an anti-competitive practice.
Until recently, using shared pricing algorithms like this flew under the radar. If your algorithm set prices, you'd just say, it's not cheating, it's a suggestion. Not anymore. Lena Khan and the FTC have said, just a suggestion? That's price fixing, no excuses. And RealPage, according to the lawsuits, they weren't even pretending the prices were suggestions.
RealPage has a system set up where the landlords who have adopted the system agree to a set of rules.
One of the rules is that RealPage gets to set rent prices. If landlords want to charge less than the digital oracle suggests, they have to justify their decision.
The justification needs to be reviewed by RealPage. RealPage can push back against the justification.
And if you push back too much, RealPage can kick the landlord out of the scheme, with one insider telling investigators, sometimes we were happy to see customers go.
They also had a policing agent that would go out and make sure that the landlords and their leasing agents were staying in line and not deviating from the price that was being set.
This scheme, if true, has had a real tangible impact on Americans.
RealPage advertises that it's going to increase revenues 2% to 7% for the participants in the cartel.
What RealPage is telling these landlords and is doing with these landlords is, don't worry about occupancy rates anymore. It doesn't matter really how many people move out of your building, you're still going to grow your revenue over time.
How? Through these coordinated price increases.
In Phoenix alone, we've seen rent increase 76% since 2016. It is almost certain that people were evicted as a result of these price increases, and that some people were made homeless by them.
To their prospective customers, the landlords, RealPage is pretty open about all of this. You can go to their website, type in a zip code, and view a sample of what buildings are using the software, along with any corresponding price changes. We'll see, this building right here, rent is actually down about 4%. If we just zoom out a little bit, a few blocks over, this rent is actually up 4%. They used to have videos where landlords talked about how RealPage's algorithm pushed them to raise rent, but the company deleted it after the Washington Post ran a story. On investor calls, they're flat out saying the algorithm is going to recommend higher lease rates for every property. But the company goes to great lengths to train landlords to hide this scheme from renters. Landlords were coached across a variety of scenarios and told not to mention RealPage or pricing algorithms to tenants. Instead, they were supposed to say stuff like units were being priced individually. RealPage and the larger industry dispute the charges. Since the onslaught of lawsuits, RealPage has largely stayed quiet, ignoring our request for an interview. But the industry has published a paper defending itself. They make a bunch of different arguments, but it boils down to two major points. The first, sharing info doesn't mean they're teaming up. Why? Because the rental world is just too big and too messy for any sort of secret deal to stick. But that doesn't seem to stand up to scrutiny.
The RealPage algorithm is being used by nearly 90% of the apartment owners in the DMV.
RealPage controls 70% of the rental units in Phoenix, and that they control at least 50% of the market in Tucson.
90% in DC, 70% in Phoenix. That hardly seems like a fragmented rental market. And their second point, more houses, not less data sharing, is the real fix for high rents.
That's bunk. You know, we've got apartment units all over Phoenix that aren't being rented right now because people can't afford them. The spaces are there, but people can't afford them because these landlords are setting artificially high rent via an algorithm, and that is just unacceptable, absolutely unacceptable.
Things are shifting. Renters are banding together in class action lawsuits. Arizona, DC, and possibly North Carolina are suing. They want to end the scheme, refund renters, and fine companies like RealPage. The DOJ has started a criminal investigation into the whole thing.
I don't think this is just an Arizona-based problem. This is not the only place where algorithms are being used to set prices.
This is, to me, one of the bigger kind of issues facing kind of our economy and consumers in the next decade or so.
There's a lot of positive things that algorithms and machine learning can do for society, but there are also risks associated with it. We can't be afraid of technology. We have to lean in and learn about it and make sure that we're keeping the public safe from the abuses that can sometimes flow from misuse of technology.
Thanks for watching, and as always, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.
Okay, so that's the video. There's an actual article here I want to read about that topic here, and this is a very recent article published on the 14th, which was yesterday, and it's written by Leslie Shaver from Multifamily Dive. That's the name of the site. Entitled "Tech Suppliers Fear RealPage Suits Will Have Chilling Effect on Data Sharing." While RealPage and multiple apartment owners and operators are facing class action lawsuits and state and federal legislation, some larger landlords are revising how they share data behind the scenes. Riemann Orkarua, co-founder and CEO of Propexo, a Boston-based firm that develops a product that serves as a conduit between different management systems, has seen this firsthand. After the Department of Justice filed an antitrust lawsuit against RealPage in August, he says a major REIT, R-E-I-T, who he declined to identify, created a new data processing agreement dictating that its vendors are no longer allowed to aggregate and use their data for anything other than the specified purpose. Quote, "They're pushing it out to every single vendor they work with," unquote, Orkaroa told Multifamily Dive. Why the sudden change? Apartment firms are trying to protect themselves from liability, according to Orkaroa. Quote, "The contractual statement from operators that vendors are going to assure us they're not aggregating data and they do not have our permission to aggregate is one of the easiest ways to shift some of this liability," unquote. Though multiple REITs and large owners declined to comment when asked if their data sharing agreements have changed, other tech vendors and lawyers reiterate what Orkarua said, that the RealPage case is causing apartment firms to rethink how information is handled, and that could have repercussions on how operators run their buildings. Orkarua expects more apartment owners and operators to restrict data sharing in the coming months. Quote, "It might not be immediate, nor is it necessarily happening all in one go, but everyone's looking at what's happening to RealPage, and it's really clear that this will change things," unquote, Orkarua said. Vidur Gupta, CEO of Beacon, a New York City-based firm that offers an artificial intelligence-based real estate analytics platform, is also seeing that, quote, "contract terms are getting a bit tighter," unquote. He notices a certain group of owners specifically concerned with the RealPage suits. Quote, "Some of the institutional investors are quite nervous about pooling information," unquote, Gupta said. While the RealPage cases are forcing many owners and operators to change their data sharing agreements, it isn't universal, according to Gupta. Quote, "Some people are saying, look, we'll wait and watch how this unravels," unquote, he said. Quote, "And some are definitely in the camp where they're not going to share data with anyone else," unquote. The one definite in the market right now is uncertainty, and a lot of people are, quote, "more gun-shy," unquote, than anything else, says Blairam Zakiri, CEO and co-founder of Scottsdale, Arizona-based Radix, a multifamily analytics company. Quote, "In the short term, everyone is going to ask, hey, do I want to share this?" Zakiri said. Michelle Lowry, an antitrust and competition law partner at the Chicago-based firm McDermott, Will & Emery, isn't surprised by some apartment firms deciding to change their data policies in the wake of the RealPage suits. She thinks the RealPage cases could also lead to a quote-unquote chilling effect in apartment industry information sharing. Quote, people don't know exactly what position the DOJ will take as to what's competitively sensitive and what's not, unquote, Lowry said. For instance, historically, sharing pricing information is off limits between competitors. But what if companies are providing other types of data like maintenance information? Or Kaua doesn't think it matters after reading the DOJ lawsuit. Quote, what happens if they did something similar with tenant screening? Unquote. Orkua said, quote, you can see other use cases where a lawyer can make an argument that there's going to be harm to consumers by pooling and sharing of this private data, and if it's not directly about rent prices, unquote. What the market needs right now, Orkua said, is clarity. Quote, there's not a clear, bright line around the kind of data that is okay to share and the kind of data that is not okay to share, unquote, he said. Quote, rather, the rule seems to be as competitors in a market, the general sharing of data writ large is going to be looked at really unfavorably, unquote. Gupta laments that the RealPage cases came just as apartment owners were beginning to really embrace technology. Quote, in general, multifamily is a bit of a laggard, unquote, Gupta said. Quote, so just at the point they are jumping onto the bandwagon to start using analytics and artificial intelligence, they have this case in front of them, unquote. The end result of the data spigot being shut off could hurt apartment operators and, by extension, consumers, Lowry argues. Quote, there's no good way to do true benchmarking without the sharing of data, unquote, Lowry said. Quote, and benchmarking, I think, has been shown to be pro-competitive over and over and over again. So there's obviously got to be some middle ground there, unquote. Gupta agrees, saying information disclosure allows companies to understand and prove their business and make better investments. Quote, otherwise you'll regress to the lowest common denominator, unquote, he said. Quote, there are benefits to sharing information if you want the whole industry to be efficient, profitable, and self-sustaining, then you need some way to benchmark, unquote. Even if apartment firms cut off private information, they'll still rely on data to make decisions. Quote, I doubt you will get to a point where people don't access information, unquote, Gupta said. However, it will be readily available public data. Quote, rental housing has a big footprint of public data, unquote, Gupta said. Quote, if you rent your home in an interesting listing, if you rent your home on an internet listing site, there is information about how much something rents for, where it is, what kind of schools there are, and stuff like that. It's all public, unquote. Okay, so yeah, there now, you know, this RealPage thing here has got a lot of lawsuits and everything, and now people are shying away from using it. But they're still saying that, hey, you know, if it isn't RealPage that's doing this, then it'll be something else. People will find their data someplace else. And my question is, well, why did they need RealPage in the first place if they could do this anyway? You know, because look, they were using RealPage, and in a lot of places they were raising the rents so high that people were leaving. Okay, and so how did RealPage really help them out to be more effective with their rents? I don't see that it did. What I see is everybody was vying for the same spot to be the top dog in the rent industry, and everybody's charging the same price, but not everybody's benefiting from it, because depending on where you are, you know, the price is either too high or it's you know, you're asking too much in an area that's really not that rich, you know, like Bangor. There's not a whole lot of wealthy people in around here, so you know, you have to set your price accordingly. And I don't even think that this RealPage thing can be that savvy here with you know, the details involved in a local economy. And when you think about, you know, what's fair and what isn't fair, how does a computer, an AI, know that? Okay, I mean, who programmed it to say that, oh, they need to raise the rent 75%? Well, there's a profit margin, but then there's just plain old fucking greed, price gouging, just like at the pump, in the grocery store. Raising prices so fucking high, it's not just a matter of profit, it's just a matter of stealing your goddamn money for the basics. And I think that, when people use these algorithm things, based things online, it's all tailored to make prices way more high than they should be. And at the same time, it's putting pressure on the customer, the citizens out there, to try to live in a neighborhood that's really priced too high, because nobody can make that kind of money there, And so, what have you got? You got a community that can't fucking move. It's just people moving back in with their parents. I mean, you got that situation, or people, sharing apartments. Taking a 2-bedroom and they sublet it to other people. I mean, you got that going on, and it's when we talk about housing shortage, I'm wondering how much of it is really a shortage and not just in overpricing in housing and the rents that's keeping people from actually getting in there. There can be a shortage of buildings, but I don't think that's so much the case. I think it's really buildings are just too goddamn expensive, and that's what's created the shortage. None of these properties are moving. None of these rents are being claimed. Okay, they're just sitting there vacant while people are screaming out there that they need a place to live. Okay, but they cannot get into these places that are priced through the fucking roof. And like I said, there's people out there that landlords could make money from, but because they're following the edict of a fucking computer mind, they're putting themselves, out of business, basically, because, like here, 60% of the building doesn't have any tenants living in it, because everybody moved out when she raised the rent here last year. A lot of people moved out. Saw a lot of U-Hauls and moving vans coming in and out of here, during the summer. People hauling ass out of this place because they know there's going to be another rent increase coming soon. But yeah, I mean, that's really what society is looking at here, and it isn't just in one area of the country. It's happening all over the country, I believe. It's just in different degrees, but it's out of control. Prices are just fucking out of control across the board on everything, and rents where people need a place to live. What the hell do you want? I mean, you're like around here. I mean, this is, in some places, you're living in Maine, not Boston, Massachusetts. I mean, there's not a fucking job around here that would pay enough money for a typical rent in this state. So you can't rely on that fucking Real page to give you fair advice, okay? Because I don't think that thing even knows or even thinks about how prices or how income is in the state and how people should be tailoring these rent prices in order to get people into these apartments. That would be my goal, is if I had all these vacancies, I'd say, well, look, I'm going to lower the price, because in the end I'll get more people in, and I'll get more rents anyway. So, but not to have anybody living in them while I'm still running heat through these apartments. It's costing me money, right? Because I don't pay for the heat here, but they have to put oil to heat, in the wintertime to heat all these apartments, even the vacant ones. Okay, that's money. That's hey, I could get more money to pay for that if I got people in these apartments. And I feel like the object here is to get people in the apartments, not to get rid of people and just have a handful who can afford it to a degree, okay, until they can't, and then you'd have nobody, and then you'd end up having to sell the goddamn building to some private equity outfit or something like that, and they would just end up, gutting the damn place. But, that's really what they'd be looking at. So it would be a loss for the landlords to continue using this fucking algorithm. I think it would be, because I can't see how they're making it any easier, or making money any easier by going there and getting info from that. It doesn't seem to work. So it's one of those instances where it sounds good on paper, having this thing out there for that, but in actual practice it isn't working. Okay, because it's making rents very exclusive to certain income levels and leaving huge swaths of the public out on the fucking street. Okay, and that ain't what we're trying to do here in this country. We want to get people into some places here, into homes, into rents, something. That's the problem we're facing here, and we need to do the opposite of that. All right, so that's it for today. I hope everybody has a great rest of the week. So subscribe, comment, and share, and keep your ears open for any health-related matters. And treat each other kind out there, and enjoy the weather if you're having a good weather. And I'm wishing everybody well down in the Florida and areas that were hit by the hurricanes. I know it's going to take time to get back on your feet, so I'm hoping all the best for you all down there. So I'll talk to you again later.